Hello everyone, my name is West, and today we will be taking a look at RGB Hypermaze. So, this is how the module looks. It's a hypercube with 5 rotations, similar to the hypercube module. To start, you need to identify what each of these rotations are. This tutorial will assume you already know how to read hypercube rotations. ToonE has a great tutorial that teaches that, so I won't go into too much detail on how that works. So we need to write down what these rotations are. So first we have YZ, then we have ZW, then we have WX, then we have WZ, and then we have WY. So these are our 5 rotations. Now we press the screen here. So we will see this colored maze as well as the numbers up top here. The numbers are 1, 4, 2, and 3, meaning we have to take the first, fourth, second, and third rotations. We don't need this line anymore. So I'm going to write an F here for forward, and I'm going to write a B here for backward. And this B is just simply F, but backwards. So we're going to write these rotations backwards. We have XW, WZ, ZW, and ZY. We're not going to worry about this colored maze right now. We're just going to go straight to this maze right here. So this red dot is our start position, and this green dot is our end position. We need to press these spheres to traverse this cube to try and get from start to the end. But before we do anything, we need to actually modify these positions based on our backwards rotations. So in the case of a red sphere, which I'll mark as S for start, we are at -x, -y, -z, -w. And for the end, we are at +x, +y, -z, +w. So on this quadruple negative, we need to apply each of these rotations here. So the XW rotation is first. So if we take this sphere, if we take this red sphere and assume an XW rotation has been applied to this cube, then we have X and W. So this would cycle these 4 spheres would cycle counterclockwise. So this would go to +x. So let's write that down. So now we have a WZ. So W and Z, I assume these 4 would rotate counterclockwise. So this will go up here, so up to a +W. ZW is just the reverse that, so we can just undo that. And so we're back down here, and then we have a ZY rotation. In that case, ZY would move the sphere up here, because these 4 would go counterclockwise like this. So then we'd have a +Z. So this is the true starting position. Let's do the same to the end. So we have an XW rotation, which moves this over here. So you can change this to a negative X. These actually cancel out, so we can ignore these, but yeah, so these cancel out, we can ignore those. And now we have the ZY. ZY would move this to a -y. So this is our true end position. So now we have our true start and our true end. Let's go back to the colored maze. And now we can write our starting position, which is this sphere, which is this right here. So we have a +x, -y, +z, -w. So now each of these spheres and walls apply a binary operation based on their colors, which is seen right here along this table. If the binary operation returns true, then we have a wall. Otherwise, it's passable. So I'll just take, for example, if these 2 spheres are separated by a y, the y operation is an OR. So if we do white, which has a red component, or blue, which this would be true because white contains red, therefore this is a wall, which means it's not passable. We need to find a path that goes from the start to the end through these walls. So I'll start with the X, I guess. I'll just pick something arbitrarily. So these 2 spheres right here, X is an AND operation. The wall is green, and they're both blue. Neither of them have a green, which means this is false, which means we can traverse the x-axis. So we'll write that down. So now we have to look right here. Next, we have to traverse either the Z or the W. Let's look at W. W is NOR. So we have green, which is NOR by blue or magenta. That returns true, which means this is a wall, which means it's not passable. So we have to look at Z instead. So Z is NAND. So blue, red, NAND, magenta. This does return true, so this is actually not where we want to go. This is also a wall. So what if we back up? If we go back to here. So this X, although is passable, leads us into a, well, doesn't lead us into a dead end, but leads us into a not necessarily long path. So let's look at a different axes. Let's look at Z. Z is NAND, so we have blue, NAND blue through a blue wall. This would return false, so Z is passable. So I'll go here. And we can write a new line here. So now we need to do, let's see what X does. X is AND, so we have green edge with magenta and blue ANDed. That returns false because because they both need to have a green component and neither of them do. So X is passable. So we'll do 4 negatives. And now all the way right here. This is our negative, and we need to change W. So W is NOR, so we have a green edge, and yellow NOR magenta. Yellow has a green, which means the binary operation returns false, meaning this is passable. So now we can pass through, this is the order we have to pass through. So the axes that we did in this order were Z, X, and W. So let's write this down here, Z, X, and W. And now let's go back to this colored maze. Or this non-colored maze, sorry. So, we need to take this forward rotations, and based on these rotations in order, we need to swap them here. So in this first case, we have YZ, so every instance of Y would be a Z, and every instance of Z would be a Y. So the Z becomes a Y. Next is WZ, W's and Z's swap, this becomes a Z. ZW, it goes back to a W, and then W and X, so this would go X. This will go W and X. So the axes we need to traverse is Y, W, and X in this order. So if we start from this red sphere, Y would go here, W goes up here, and X goes over here. Nice. And that's a solved module. I'll do another example, right up here. So that was YX, I don't know what order this is. This is WZ. This is YZ. And we have ZX. That's the end of the sequence. Oh, and then we have XZ. Okay, let's press the screen. 5, 2, 3, 4. So we'll write the F for forwards. So we have 5, 2, 3, 4. Don't need this anymore. Backwards, we just write these backwards. ZY, ZW, XY, XZ. Excuse me. And we don't need to look at this right now. Let's go to this non-colored maze. Alright, our current position, or our start, is positive X, positive Y, negative Z, negative W. And the end is negative X, negative Y, negative Z, positive W. And now through these backwards, we need to apply these rotations on these spheres. So, a ZY rotation would rotate this red sphere down here, so that's a negative Y. ZW would rotate these 4 spheres highlighted here clockwise, I believe. Yes, it does. So this would go up to positive Z. XY would rotate these 4 in the order I move my mouse. So this would go up to positive Y, I think. Yes, that's positive Y. And lastly, XZ. So positive X, and this would go to the negative X over here. So the true starting position is this sphere. Now let's do this end goal. So ZY would go. This would go up to positive Z, I think. Let me just make sure. Yes, that would go to positive Z. So we're here. ZW would bring us, I think, just back down, wouldn't it? Yes, it would bring us back down to negative Z. XY, or negative X, so we'll be going to negative Y. So I believe it would be these 4 in this order is the rotation it would go. So that would be a positive X, And now XZ would bring us to positive Z right here. Up this way. So now we have our start and end, or modify start and end positions. We'll press the screen and go back to this colored maze. So this is our starting position. The axes we need to traverse is X, Y, and W. That's the order we're in this in. So let's find our positive Y, positive Z right here. So this is where we are. So let's look at X. X is the end origin, green is the edge, yellow and yellow both contain green, which means this is true, meaning this is not passable. So X won't work. Let's look at Y. Y is OR. We have blue, and then is the edge, and black and yellow. Neither have blue, so this is false. Y is traversable. So let's do that. Let's write down that we traverse the Y-axis. Okay. Let's try X again. So green wall, black and yellow. Black doesn't contain green, therefore this returns false. So X is passable. So I'll write this down. Change the X. And now we're over here, and let's look at the Y, or sorry, the W, because that's the last axis. So it's a red edge with yellow and cyan, which is because W is NOR. Yellow does contain red, which means this returns false. So W is passable. So we have this is the previous sphere, and now this is the goal. So W. So the axes we have traveled is Y, X, and W. Let's go back to the non-colored maze. So let's go back to our forward and paste them back down here, and let's swap these again. So Z and X, we swap all Z's and X's. That would be this goes to a Z. Y and X, this becomes an X. W and Z, we swap Z to W and W to Z. And YZ, this becomes Y. So now the axes we have to traverse are X, W, and Y. So let's do that. So the X would swap the X would bring here, W would be here, and Y would be here. Nice. So that's RGB Hypermaze. If you have any questions, please post out in the comments below, and thank you for watching.